Yo, Chuckadelphia peeps. Ever chug a Slim Fast shake, kick it with Tybo, or quit a diet faster than you can say fat-free cookies? That was me in the 90s, starting and stopping diets like it was my side hustle. But this time, I've lost 237 pounds and kept going for over 2 years. Today we're diving into the psychological blocks that made me quit, and how I smashed through them, and how you can too. So, sit right back, everybody, and let's roll out. Welcome back, everybody. As I was saying, back in the 90s, I was all in on those fat diets and fitness crazes. I'd chug Slim Fast shakes for breakfast and lunch thinking, Chuck, you're going to be a lean, mean, fighting machine. But by dinner, I was starving, raiding the fridge, and quitting by week 2. Trim Spa? Those pills promised I'd melt fat like magic, but all I got was jitters and a quick exit to the couch. Fitness was no better to me. Tybo? Billy Blanks?
Let's go.
Had me punching and kicking, but after a week, my motivation was knocked out cold. I tried to defend myself by using Tybo in a fight, but it turns out I got my VHS tapes mixed up and was actually sweating to the oldies. Yep, that was me. I'd pop in sweating to the oldies, dancing with Richard Simmons to my boyfriend's back in my living room, feeling like a rock star until VCR became self-aware and put me in the hospital. Even Snackwell's cookies, those fat-free devils, tricked me into eating a whole box thinking I was healthy, only to crash with guilt. Swallowing cardboard can make you sick. And don't get me started on the Atkins diet, swearing off carbs, dreaming of bread, and caving by Friday. And every single time I'd mess up, I'd tell myself I would start again tomorrow. And then tomorrow became Monday, and essentially I kept putting it off. And many times I'd lose 10, maybe 20 pounds, and then I'd hit a mental wall. I'd think, Chuck, you blew it again, and give up feeling like a total failure. Each flop stung, shame, self-doubt, the works. But it wasn't just me. Those were psychological blocks, and those 90s quick fixes, they set me up to fail. Fast forward to March 2023, I was 551 pounds, and at that point, I couldn't afford to fail anymore. I had to change. Now, I'm 237 pounds down, working with Dr. Fortino, eating leafy greens, and exercising daily. What changed? I tackled my headspace, not just my plate. So stick around, we'll break down what these blocks are, share stories of Philly's Rob McElhenney and others who beat them, and give you science-backed ways to crush your own. Plus, I've got a question for you at the end. Hit subscribe, join the Chuckadelphia crew, and let's dive in. They're mental barriers that stop us from sticking to goals like weight loss. The sciencey term? Cognitive distortions or self-sabotaging behaviors. Think of your brain whispering, let's skip the gym and hit the pizza. Very Well Fit says these are exaggerated thoughts that don't match reality, derailing our progress. Are they common? Heck yeah. The 2015 Orlando Health Survey found 90% of people focus on diet and exercise, but ignore their mind as a weight loss barrier. My Slim Fast days, I'd eat one cookie and think I'm a failure. That's a block called all or nothing thinking, and it's everywhere. They hit addictions like smoking, alcohol, or even doom scrolling X.
Your emotions get the best of you. It seems like I couldn't look away from it.
A PMC study compared food addiction to substance abuse, showing we use food to cope with stress, just like other habits. The cycle's the same. Try, hit a mental wall, quit. But here's the good news. If you beat these blocks for one goal, you can apply that mentality anywhere. Let's talk about some examples of psychological blocks. Yeah, you're all or nothing thinking. If I can't diet perfectly, I'm done. My snack wells binges, I'd eat a box and think, might as well order fries too. PMC links this to loss of eating control. Sometimes, if I worked really hard and I saw that I only lost a half a pound or something in 1 week, I'd feel like Tony Soprano's mom and I'll be like,
Stab me here.
yep, that's how it was. Negative body image. I'd skip Taekwondo classes, feeling too big to be seen sweating. Research shows poor body image stops public exercise. Then sometimes, like I would go to the gym and I'd be worried that like people would be staring or like I would fall or, I just wasn't lifting as much as everybody else in the gym. And as it turns out, people in the gym, they don't really pay attention to that stuff. It was all up here, you know? Emotional eating, stress or sadness, I'd hit the snacks, not the gym. 2015 Australian survey said 75% of people eat to cope, craving sugar and fat. Now, sometimes that might be just like you're thinking about previous relationships, failures, and things, the job you didn't get, the job you took, and the job you should have taken, or something like that. And even now, like I think about what's going on with social media and politics, and there's so much negative press out there. And it's unfortunate because for many people, picking up the phone and starting to scroll through their social media is like an involuntary action that their body does. And it's hard to just stop that. But I mean, many times, just doing that, it's like a lot of that information there is misleading. Sometimes it's just purposely there to get us to look into buying products or just to like control our mentality and things like that. A lot of it is propaganda, a lot of it is marketing strategy. But man, it's just if there's a way that you can just break free from that phone, I bet you it's going to have an effect on that emotional eating. You won't eat as much as you had before. And I swear that's been a big part of my own change here. I don't really focus on that stuff as much. I mean, I'm aware of what's going on, but I don't let it dictate how my life is. And I don't let it bring me down as much. Fear of failure, trim spa, hydroxycut, any other types of pills, man. I thought I was going to solve all my problems with a pill. I would take a pill and, I would start the process and, maybe there might have been like some slight changes at first and I thought it was okay. But if I didn't see the type of progress that I thought that I should have been seeing, I thought, well, I'm just doomed for failure. It's not going to work out. And if I'm going to fail, what's the point in trying this anyway? You know what? I'm never going to be perfect, and I would just accept it. I would just beat myself down. I would just keep saying, "Hey, you're no good. You're gonna fail anyway. Why even start?" You know? I mean, I'm not as fast as Usain Bolt, so why even jump in the race and compete? You know? And I would just beat myself up, and that was me doing that. That was nobody else. Nobody else. I was pummeling myself, you know, like I was receiving punches from Ivan Drago, you know? At some point, I gotta have Rocky Balboa throw the white towel in and call the fight and tell me to, get back up on my feet and start to live again. You get the deprivation mindsets. Slim Fast made me feel food was my only joy. Dr. Melanie Greenberg says this triggers overeating to fill emotional gaps. And that was a lot of the issues with like, the idea of fasting. Although I didn't understand what fasting was in the past. In the past, before I even learned about it, I would just starve myself, you know? I just thought that was okay. I'd wake up and I'd figure out if I just starved myself, then everything would be just fine. I didn't understand the science of what intermittent fasting was. And I realized that there was a difference between fasting and starving. In fasting, you're in control. There's a strength, there's a discipline behind it. Whereas a starvation, like when you're starving yourself, there really isn't any discipline to that. And at the end of the day, because you're depriving yourself of so much, it's easy to just fall apart and dive in and just, when you see a table full of food, like maybe you end up going to a party. That used to happen to me, I would think I was doing fine, and then I would go to a party and I'd see party trays out and I'd see so many different types of food. And in a way, it felt like it triggered so many things. It was like, okay, so you've been working hard and hey, here's this big table of rewards here. Just go ahead and pick and choose what you want. And, it wasn't just taking a plate and putting a few things on it. I would just like, sometimes I would approach the table and I would just like try to steal things, sneak things, put them on my plate, maybe like, cuss my hand down a little bit and think that nobody could see them. I would just steal food sometimes. My goodness, I was awful with that. But it was because I was depriving myself at other times. I wasn't establishing discipline. I wasn't properly feeding myself with healthy food or proteins to really figure out how to control my cravings. But I do that now. But I didn't realize back then that this deprivation mindset was a part of these psychological blocks that I'm telling you. Take Ethan Suplee. My name is Earl, Mallrats, and remember the Titan Star.
Little elastic, man. What happened to you?
Man, I just gave your mama a piggyback ride and she weighs twice as much as I.
He topped 500 pounds, battling emotional eating and negative body image, using food to handle stress and self-doubt.
Dude, you look like a gorilla. You look like a dangerous human being. Like, how did you do it?
Well, over the past 20 years, I've gone back and forth with dieting. I've lost a shitload of weight. I've gained a shitload of weight back. How did I do it? I think that the thing that I've done that has been sustainable is undoing look, a lot of diets come in and say, just do this and you'll lose weight. But we're not focused at all on how we got to whatever point we were at that we consider non-optimal that we want to change. And so undoing the bad habits that I had that I would associate with allowing myself to get up to 550 pounds is really more important than anything that I could say, this is what I did to lose weight.
Suplee turned it around, dropping over 200 pounds to become a jacked fitness buff. He tackled emotional eating and fear of failure from past diets with therapy and strength training, building a lifestyle, not a quick fix. Negative self-talk and a deprivation mindset, feeling food or substances were his only escape, kept him stuck, just like my Slim Fast crash and burns. Rob McElhenney, Philly's It's Always Sunny mastermind, gained 50 pounds for a role, grappling with self-doubt and emotional eating. He shed it with discipline, a trainer, and small steps. Workouts and better meals. Not my old trim spa pills. Ross quote, I learned to enjoy the process, not just the result. See, that's Philly grit, Chuckadelphia style. Mike Tyson dropped over 100 pounds by going vegan and diving into therapy, facing trauma and negative self-talk with meditation and boxing. He said, discipline is doing what you hate to do, but doing it like you love it. That fire is what kept me going for 2 years, too. Now I'm ready to take on Buster Douglas. So let's ponder why these things happen. Well, for one thing, the brain's comfort zone. Your brain loves the familiar. It clings to habits like overeating to avoid change, like my Atkins bread cravings. Emotional triggers, stress or depression amp up blocks. Physiology and behavior found stress pushes us to sugary, fatty foods, not salads, which you could tie this to a lot of, how many emotional triggers do we have? How many exes have caused us to go for those bags of Doritos? Huh? How many exes have caused us to go to the buffet table one too many times? Past experiences too. My 90s fad flops built fear of failure. PMC says past failures or trauma like body shaming wire your brain to self-sabotage. As I said before, I had the experience of living with man boobs for a long time. When you're a teenager and being a part of the swim team, that's really hard to live with. You walk around the pool and you know that everybody's looking at you. And as a boy, they're probably thinking, what's going on there? And I thought to myself, should I be wearing a bikini top or something? I just didn't feel right. And so many times, as I said, I would just even though I had surgery to have that fixed, I would see the scars all the time. And I would tell myself, why even do this? My past experiences, I've carried these physical and emotional scars for so long, again, I would start to make progress. And then those past experiences would creep into my mind and say hey, you've been through enough. You can just give up. There's no need to keep fighting and getting better. Social pressure. The 90s thin as in vibe with Snackwells and low fat mania made me feel I'd never measure up, so I try. And I can only imagine how much worse it is today with social media and things like that. I mean, like I think I have a pretty good grasp on things, but I know that a lot of other people pressure you. There are even people out there that pressure you for even trying to get healthy these days, which boggles my mind. I just don't understand it. So let me first, now, before I continue on, let me say kudos to you if you're still around here. I know it's not easy to do this, but I hope you're learning something and I hope that you relate to it as well. But how do we fix this? How do we move forward? How do we climb over that psychological block or psychological wall, whatever you want to call it? Well, for one thing, reframe failure. See failure as feedback. I started saying, one bad meal doesn't ruin my journey. Very well fit says this fights all or nothing thinking. Like Ethan Suplee, I learned slip ups don't define you. Find a way to manage stress. Stress triggers emotional eating. Try journaling or walking. Nutritious Life says stress reduction cuts cortisol, which fuels cravings. My tip, I walk so much. If you have dogs, your dogs will love the fact that you're on this journey. I walk my dogs probably like 2 or 3 times a day. Sometimes I want to take them for a walk and they've had enough. They can't do it anymore. Try to walk at least 30 minutes a day. And that's my stress buster. You know, in the past, I was notorious at my old workplace where I would just be at the office all day long, sitting in a chair behind a desk. I didn't even want to get up. And even now, working from home, I was like that as well with my classes. But now, like I do my best to schedule my classes throughout the day so that like after I finish a class, like after I finish maybe a block of 2 or 3 classes, I have a little bit of time in between those classes. I get up, I either take my dogs outside or I ask them if they want to go for a walk. I move my body. You know, I'm not just locking myself down into this chair the whole day like I used to. In a way, that's how I've been able to manage stress. Also, as we've said before, after you eat, do your best to walk around, maybe for like, at least 1 minute, but try to walk around like 15 minutes. That does wonders for your glucose. Do that. It's very helpful in the process, you know? Set smart goals. Small, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound goals work. They boost success. Rob McElhenney's Small Steps, I do that with daily greens. I do my best to make sure I eat my spinach every day. Spinach, or at least some kinds of vegetables. My plan is to eat as many vegetables and pieces of fruit as I can each day. I aimed to eat greens daily, not lose 200 pounds. Small win. You can do that each day. Plan to walk 15 minutes. That's your goal each day. Walk around the block. That's a goal. Do 3 exercises, three types of exercises for your shoulders, for your chest. Swim, maybe start off with 5 laps, then work to 10. Something that's achievable, because if you achieve those things, it'll make you feel good and you'll realize that you're working towards something. Set your goals, have something to work towards. Because if you don't have those goals, if you don't have smart goals, it's all for nothing anyway. And these psychological blocks are just going to come back and they're just going to keep winning. Also, get support. Find a buddy or a pro, like Dr. Fortino for me. PMC says psychological support doubles diet adherence. Ethan's therapy, Rob's trainer, support's key. PMC says psychological support doubles diet adherence. Ethan's therapy, Rob's trainer, support's the key. Dr. Diane Robinson said, if your body's not changing, start with your mind. That's my mantra. And I realized this is coming to me in different ways. Like my mom's been a very big support in this process. My dad as well. It's also been really like, being able to talk with them about health, about things that work, things that don't work. As I said, my dogs, Charlie and Frankie, they've been wonderful for me. They keep me active. And also I have found a lot of fun in talking about health and fitness with my students. Sometimes, especially some of my students that are in their process of working on their health, I love to, like, every now and then we get into some good conversations about what works and what doesn't work. Those things, they go a long way. I mean, find people that have shared interest in what you're doing, and that will help you overcome that psychological block. Leave. My Chuckadelphia peeps, psychological blocks are real, but they're not unbeatable. I went from slim fast flops and Tybo quits to 237 pounds down by tackling my mind with Dr. Fortino, greens, and Philly grit. Ethan Suplee, Rob McElhenney, and Mike Tyson did it too. You can certainly crush your blocks. For more, check out my full journey. Check out here, subscribe for more Talkin' Fit realness. So what about you? Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. What's a psychological block you fit in your fitness or life goals? How'd you push past it? Or what's holding you back? Drop it in the comments section. Like this video. Share it. That really impressed me if you shared it. Share it and let's inspire each other. Chuckadelphia style. So that's just about all for now. And as always, carpe diem, my friends. Full steam ahead.